Have you ever found yourself carrying something so heavy that it affects your peace? Maybe it's a situation you can't control, a person who's hurt you, maybe even a decision you're waiting on, or something from your past that you just keep replaying in your mind. I've been learning something in this season of my life that there's freedom that comes from when we stop trying to control everything and just give it to God. Now, I don't mean just saying something like, God, I give this to you, and then picking it right back up 5 minutes later. I've done that. Trust me. I mean, just learning to really surrender and trust that God can handle it better than we could ever handle it. One of the biggest things I've been learning is that I don't have to carry the responsibility of fixing everything. There are situations where I've spent so much energy thinking, how is this going to work out? What should I do? How do I make this better? How do I get someone else to see things differently? All the things, all the questions that come up in my head. And God has been reminding me that this was never my burden to carry. There's freedom in knowing that God sees everything. He sees the things that I see, but He also sees things that I don't see. He knows people's hearts. He knows circumstances. He knows the details that are completely outside of my understanding. And because of that, I don't have to react out of frustration. I don't have to respond out of anger or exhaust myself trying to figure things out and make things happen. I can actually trust Him. And I'm really, really learning about that more and more. One of the hardest things for us as humans is wanting justice when we've been hurt. We want people to understand our perspective. We want them to see what they've done. We want them to pay. We want things handled the way that we think they should be handled. But I'm learning that God doesn't need my help controlling the outcome. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to spend my energy trying to prove myself. I don't have to fight every battle. I don't have to carry the anger and the frustration because He is fully capable of dealing with situations and people. And I just have to learn to let go of that. And when I truly believe that, it changes everything. It doesn't mean that I don't set boundaries, though. It doesn't mean I ignore things that need attention. It means I stop carrying the emotional weight of things that is belonging in God's hands. Another area where God has been teaching me about freedom is letting go of the guilt and regrets from my past. That's been a big one. That's one I've been struggling with for a while. Sometimes the enemy wants us to believe that we have to keep punishing ourselves for things God has already forgiven. We replay the mistakes over and over, think about what we should have done differently, how we should have fixed things, and it's not even ours to fix. We allow our past to become an identity instead of recognizing God is still working in us. But if God has forgiven us, who am I to refuse that forgiveness for myself? I can get that too. I'm learning that freedom means accepting God's grace, also acknowledging where I am, where I have made mistakes, and learning from them and following and allowing God to move me forward. I've been asking myself, why do we make surrendering complicated? And I think part of the answer is that we're just so used to being in control. We're so used to making our own plans, figuring things out, also just depending on ourselves. So when God asks us to release something and trust Him, it can really be uncomfortable because there's that little voice that says, but what if it doesn't happen the way that I want? What if God doesn't handle it the way that I think He should? And so this is where faith comes in, because trusting God means believing that His way is better than our way. His timing is better than my timing. His plan is also better than my plan. I want to share something that has actually helped me. Sometimes I need to physically step away from the noise. I may do something like go for a walk. I may spend time outside. I might just get somewhere quiet where I can process what I'm feeling. And then I just talk to God. I tell him exactly what's on my mind. I tell him where I'm actually struggling. And realizing I can actually tell him that and just be honest about it has been really freeing as well. But when I do that, I wait. Now, sometimes I don't get an immediate answer. He doesn't always reveal it all at one time, but I usually receive this peace while I wait. And that peace is like a reminder that he's still with me, a reminder that I don't have to have everything figured out today, right now, when I want it. I'm also reminded that he is working even when I can't see that he's working. That's been a big one for me. I also want to be honest and say that this is not something that I've mastered. I'm a continuous work in progress here. There are still moments when I find myself taking things back. I'll give something to God, and then I'll realize later that I've picked it back up again. I'll start worrying, trying to take control. I start thinking that I need to actually fix things, and then I have to surrender all over again. But then I thought, well, maybe that's part of the journey. Maybe faith isn't about never struggling, or maybe about continually choosing God over and over again. So in this season of my life, this scripture has really spoken to me. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17. Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. The word freedom really stands out to me because freedom isn't just being free from circumstance. It's being free from all of the anxiety, the guilt, and the pressure that comes trying to carry everything on our shoulders. When the Spirit of God is leading us, we don't have to live controlled by fear. We can live in peace. We can live with trust. We can live knowing that God is already working. What is something you've been carrying that God is asking you to release? What situation are you trying to control that you need to place back into His hands? Maybe today is the day to pray, God, help me let go. Help me trust you. Help me stop carrying what you never asked me to carry. If this message encouraged you, I would love for you to share in the comments something that God is teaching you about surrender. Thank you for spending time with me today, and I'll see you again in the next video.